Welcome. If you're watching this, you've probably felt that frustration, that voice in your head saying you'll never be fluent. I know that feeling intimately. But what if I told you that everything you believe about language learning is a lie? What if the secret wasn't memorizing 1,000 words, but truly understanding just 50? This isn't a theory. This is my story, and it's about to become yours. I was stuck. For years, I was the king of phrasebooks, the emperor of tourist-level pleasantries. I could ask for directions to a museum I would never visit and order a coffee in 7 different languages, yet I couldn't hold a real conversation. I was trapped in a prison of my own making, a prison built with the bricks of vocabulary lists and grammar rules I couldn't seem to apply. The moment a native speaker replied with anything beyond a textbook answer, my mind would go blank. Panic would set in. I'd smile, nod, and retreat into a shameful silence. I was collecting words like stamps, but I had no idea how to send a letter. The dream of fluency felt like a distant, unattainable peak, and I was forever slipping down the mountain. Then everything changed. I stumbled upon a concept so simple, so ridiculously obvious that I almost dismissed it. It was the idea of semantic primes and the Pareto Principle applied to language learning. The Pareto Principle, or the 80-20 rule, suggests that 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. In language, this translates to a mind-blowing reality. A tiny fraction of the words do the vast majority of the work. We're not talking about a 20% fraction, but something even more extreme. Research into language corpora, massive databases of real-world speech and text, reveals a shocking truth. The most common 50 words in English can make up a staggering 50 to 60% of everything you will ever read, hear, or need to say in a daily conversation. Let that sink in. 50 words, that's it. My journey to fluency began not with adding more words, but with mastering the ones I already knew, but never truly understood. But knowing the verbs and prepositions was only half the battle. The real magic, the true key to unlocking fluent speech, came when I weaponized the small, powerful words that give our thoughts structure and our conversations direction. I'm talking about the pronouns, the articles, the conjunctions, and the question words. These are the words that native speakers use without a second thought, but for learners, they are often the source of greatest hesitation. This is where my focus turned next. Let's start with the words that define our place in the world. The pronouns. I, you, he, she, it, we, they, me, him, her, us, them. And of course, the possessive forms like my, your, his, her, its, our, their. Think about how often you use I in a day. Now think about the subtle shift to me as the object of a sentence. I gave the book to I sounds wrong to you now because you've internalized the rule. My goal was to internalize all of these until they were as automatic as breathing. I practiced not by memorizing, but by creating millions of tiny sentences. I see her, she sees me. We see them, they see us. This drilled the patterns into my subconscious. Then came the articles, a, an, the definite and indefinite. A car is any car. The car is that specific car we both know about. Mastering this tiny distinction makes your speech instantly sound more nuanced and intelligent. Next, the logical connectors, the words that build complex thoughts. And, but, or, so, because, if, then. With these, I could escape simple sentences. I could no longer just say, I was tired, I went to bed. I could say, I was tired, so I went to bed. Or, I went to bed because I was tired. This is how you stop sounding like a caveman and start sounding like a thinker. Finally, the most powerful tools in any conversation. The question words. What, when, where, why, who, how. These words are invitations. They are the engine of every dialogue. Before, I was passive, waiting to be asked. Now I became the interviewer of the world. What did you think? Where did you go? How did that make you feel? How and why especially opened doors to deeper connections I never thought possible. The theory was solid, but the true test was in the wild, in the messy, unpredictable flow of a real conversation. I had my blueprint of 50 words, but a blueprint is useless unless you start building. I decided to force myself into situations where I had to use this core vocabulary creatively. I stopped trying to find the perfect word and started focusing on expressing any idea using only my trusted toolkit. This was the moment I learned to circumlocate, and it changed everything. Let me give you a powerful example. Imagine I wanted to say, I'm fascinated by astrophysics. A year earlier, if I didn't know the word fascinated, I would have shut down. But with my core words, I had a dozen ways to say it. I could say, I think astrophysics is very interesting, or I like it a lot. I want to know more about it, or it is so good for me. I cannot stop reading about it. See? Very, a lot, want, more, so, good, can, not, stop, about. These are all on the list. I wasn't stuck. I was communicating the same core idea, and the person I was talking to would inevitably respond with, you're fascinated by it. And just like that, I'd learned the perfect word in a context I would never forget. This is how language is acquired naturally, not through forced memorization. I also focused on the deictic words, the words that point to things. This, that, these, those, here, there. Their meaning is entirely dependent on context, and using them correctly makes you sound present and engaged. Pointing to something close and saying, this book, or to something across the room and saying, that car, seems simple, but it grounds your speech in the immediate reality. Then there are the vital little big words that express time and modality. Now, then, today, tomorrow, yesterday, some, any, no, all, every, one, other, another. Mastering some versus any was a game changer. I have some money versus I don't have any money. It's the difference between abundance and lack. These words shape the very fabric of your statements. The final piece of the puzzle wasn't just about knowing these words in isolation. It was about weaving them together into a seamless, automatic tapestry of speech. This required a deliberate and focused practice regime. I moved from theory to action. I divided my practice into 3 core activities, each designed to forge my 50 words from a list in my head into an instinct in my heart. The first was listening with intent. I would watch short video clips, maybe a 1-minute scene from a movie or a brief interview, and I would do nothing but listen for my core words. I'd block out the complex nouns and adjectives and just focus on the skeleton. I was stunned. The dialogue was almost entirely built on I, you, we, the, and, but, to, for, can, will, this, that. Hearing this pattern over and over calibrated my brain to the natural rhythm of the language. The second activity was what I call core word translation. I would take a complex sentence from a news article and translate it into a version using only my 50 words. For example, the government implemented a new economic policy to curb inflation. Became, they did a new thing for money to make it not go up so much. Was it less precise? Yes. But was it communicatively effective? Absolutely. This trained my brain to prioritize being understood over being perfect. The third and crucial activity was forced speaking.
I would set a timer for 5 minutes and speak to myself about any topic, my day, a dream, a plan, but with one rule. I could only use my core 50 words plus any topic specific nouns I absolutely needed.
If I didn't know a noun, I'd point or describe it using my core tools. I want the thing for writing. The long thing with ink. This was frustrating at first, but it broke my habit of freezing. It made me creative, resilient, and fluid. It was in these exercises that words like we, our, us became emotionally significant. They connected me to the group, to the other, or gave me choices, but introduced conflict and nuance. If opened worlds of possibility. The theory was solid, the practice was intense, but the final transformation happened the moment I stepped back into a real conversation. I was armed with my 50 words, a healthy dose of fear, and the new philosophy: communication over perfection. I remember the conversation vividly. It was with a man named Marco at a local coffee shop. Before, I would have nervously rehearsed a question about the weather. This time, I took a breath and used my tools. I pointed to a painting on the wall and said, "I like this. What do you think about it?" He looked surprised, then smiled. "It is good, but the colors are very strong for me." I nodded, using my core words to build on his thought. "Yes, the red and the blue, they are strong. But for me, it is good. It makes me feel something." I used the vague something because I didn't know the word for energetic, but it worked. He understood. We talked for 20 minutes. I used but to disagree gently. I used because to explain my simple reasons. I used can you to ask for help when I got stuck. I didn't know the word for artist, so I said, "The person who made this," and he supplied the word. This was the cycle in action. I was building the frame with my core words, and he was helping me fill in the picture with new vocabulary. Vocabulary that now had context and meaning and emotion attached to it. I wasn't just learning a word, I was learning a moment. That conversation was a triumph. It was fluid. There were pauses, but they were thoughtful pauses, not panic-filled silences. I was truly communicating. I was connecting with another human being through the powerful, humble, and magnificent framework of the 50 most common words in the English language. This was the proof I needed. The fluency I had sought for years wasn't hidden in a dictionary's final pages. It was waiting for me in the first few, in the simple words I had always overlooked. The journey was not without its moments of doubt. There were days when the method felt too simple, too reductionist. My old habits would whisper that I needed more vocabulary, more complex grammar, more everything. But I held fast to the results I was seeing. The true evidence was in the reactions of native speakers. They stopped switching to my language. They stopped simplifying their speech for my benefit. They began engaging with me as a peer because my communication, while simple, was clear, effective, and human. This was the ultimate revelation. Fluency is not about impressing people with your vocabulary. It is about connecting with them through clarity and confidence. My 50 words gave me that confidence. I was no longer afraid of making a mistake because I had a fallback for everything. If I forgot a word, I could describe it. If I messed up a grammar rule, the core sentence structure was so solid that the meaning still shone through. I started to think in the language,
because my thinking was built on this simple framework. My internal monologue switched from, how do I say this, to, this is what I want to say. The words I, want, to, go, there, now could form a complete, powerful thought that propelled me into action. The words I think that is good allowed me to express an opinion without hesitation. This mental shift is the most valuable gift this method gave me. It removed the intermediary of constant translation and granted me direct access to expression. The barrier between myself and the language crumbled, not because I had conquered the entire lexicon, but because I had mastered its foundation.
I had learned to build a home with just the essentials, and it was more comfortable and welcoming than any mansion of half-learned, unused words had ever been. But then, a new and wonderful problem emerged. My foundation was so strong, my core framework so automatic, that new words began to stick to it with incredible ease. I had created a magnetic structure. My 50 words acted like a powerful semantic glue. Once you have the sentence, I want to go to the, your brain is primed for a place. I do not like this, craves a reason. She said it is very, demands a description. This is when my vocabulary began to expand organically and rapidly. Because I was no longer struggling to build the sentence itself, my mind had the free processing power to listen for, absorb, and retain the new words that fit into the slots my core language created. I wasn't learning words from a list, I was acquiring them from life. I heard someone say, I'm exhausted, and my brain filed it under the I am structure, linked to the concept of being very tired. I heard, it's efficient, and it connected to, it works good. The new vocabulary had a home to go to immediately. This is the complete opposite of the traditional method where you learn a word like ubiquitous and have no idea how to naturally slot it into a conversation. With my method, the conversation was already happening, and the new word arrived just in time to make it better, more precise. The pressure was off. Learning became a game of discovery, not a chore of memorization. I would get excited when I heard a new word because I knew exactly what it meant and how to use it, all thanks to the context provided by my trusted core. The 50 words didn't limit me, they launched me. They were the fertile soil in which a rich and vibrant vocabulary could finally grow. Now, I want to give you the practical, actionable blueprint so you can start this journey yourself. It's not enough to just know which 50 words, you must know how to activate them. The entire list is your new foundation. Here are the words that changed everything for me, the ones I've been weaving throughout this story. A. About. All. And. At. B. But. Can. Come. Do. For. From. Get. Go. See. Want. Like. I. If. In. It. Its. Like. Me. My. No. Not. Now. Of. On. One. Or. Other. Our. Out. Say. See. She. So. Some. Take. Than. That. The. There. Then. There. They. This. To. Up. Us. We. What. When.
where, which, who, will, with, yes, you, your. Your mission is to move these words from your passive recognition to your active command. This requires a three-phase approach. First, the mindset. You must believe, truly believe, that these words are powerful. Print this list, put it on your wall, look at it every day, and understand that within these words lies the key to your fluency. Second, the practice. I want you to take just 5 words from the list each day, not 50, just 5. For example, today, take get, go, see, want, like. Your task is to write 10 sentences using only those 5 words and other words from the master list. I want to go and see. I like to get it. You see it and you go. This seems simplistic, but it forges neural pathways. Third, the tools. Use voice recording on your phone. Speak your sentences. Listen to yourself. Does it sound natural? Use a language exchange app and commit to using these core words for your first 5 messages. Explain your method to your partner. They will understand and help you. This is how you build not just knowledge, but skill. This is how you build not just sentences, but speech. This method is not a secret I can keep to myself. Since my transformation, I've shared this approach with others, and witnessing their journeys has been the final confirmation of its power. I remember working with a woman named Maria. She had studied English for years, but was terrified of speaking. She believed her vocabulary was too small. I told her to forget every word she had crammed and to focus only on the list of 50.
For 2 weeks, we did nothing but build and break down sentences using these words. We played games where she had to describe complex objects like a microwave or insurance using only the core vocabulary. The breakthrough came during her 3rd week. She was at a market and wanted to buy a specific kind of fruit she didn't know the name of. Instead of panicking, she pointed and used her tools. She said, "I want that. The yellow fruit. It is long. You have it?" The vendor immediately understood banana, and Maria had her win. She didn't learn the word banana from a flashcard, she earned it through communication. Her confidence exploded that day. Her story is not unique. This method works because it is aligned with how our brains naturally acquire language, through necessity, context, and the repetition of foundational patterns. It bypasses the analytical fear center of the brain and taps into the intuitive, communicative core we all possess. You do not need a special talent for languages. You need a systematic approach to the most common words. You need to give your brain the constant small wins that build the unshakable confidence required for fluency. The grammar you need is the grammar that naturally resides within these words. The prepositions, the conjugations of core verbs, the logical connectors. You learn the grammar by using the words, not by memorizing rules. And so, we arrive at the end of this story, but more importantly, at the beginning of yours. The path to fluency is not a long, arduous road paved with thousands of vocabulary cards. It is a short, focused path that requires you to dig deep, not wide. The secret was never about how many words you know. It's about how well you know the most important ones. Fluency is not a destination marked by a certificate. It is a state of mind characterized by the confidence to express your thoughts, connect with others, and navigate the world in a new language. You now hold the key. You have the list. You understand the philosophy. The 50 words are your tools, your building blocks, your secret weapon. The journey from hesitant speaker to confident communicator begins with a single deliberate step. Start today, not with 50 words, but with one. Master the power of get. Feel the versatility of go. Understand the connection in we. This is your invitation to a different kind of learning, an easier kind, a more human kind. Stop collecting words and start using them. Build your framework. Trust the process and watch as the world of fluent communication opens up to you. You can do this. The first word is waiting.